Everybody know the Lord is faithful. In you I move.
In you I live. In you I move. There's nothing I can't do. My declaration.
That's it.
All dependence on you.
All of my needs said.
All of my needs.
You. If it wasn't for you, Lord, I'd wither. My declaration of dependence.
All dependence on you.
Every breath said.
Every breath
And every step is all
about the Lord. My declaration
of dependence.
all dependence on
All of my help said. Comes from the Lord. He is my wealth and my grace. That's it. Can I get everybody to clap your hands with us? Come on, let's make this one big choir. Come on. Great is thy say. Great is thy. Everybody know he's great. Faithfulness. And because God, you've been faithful, great is mine. Great is That's it. Anybody depending on him tonight, say it. Come on. Let's say it one more. Come on, everybody say great is thy. Great is thy. I dare you just wave your hands in it. Come on, he's been faithful. God, we thank you for being faithful. Come on, say it. Great is thy. Great is mine. Anybody depending on him, show up. Come on, say it. I see you brothers standing in the line, ready to put in your resume for a job. I see you lady that you're sitting at the table counting all your money, but everything don't add up. Say it.
Yes, I am. I depend on. I depend. Yes, I do, Lord. I depend on you. Doesn't matter what nobody else says. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Gotta depend on you.
Well, good morning and praise the Lord, everybody. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I believe we ought to rejoice and we ought to be glad in it. It is a great day to be alive, and I'm grateful to God to be able to be here with you today for 8 at 8. I am Jerome Danage, and I am your host. Uh, please join me in a brief word of prayer as we ask God's blessings over our time together. God, we're grateful again for the gift of another day, for life, health, and strength, and the beauty of all of it. Thank you for bestowing upon us every good and perfect gift, and for being with us. We offer this devotional time, God, back to you, and ask, Lord, that you would indeed bless it and anoint it. Grow us that it would glorify you, and as well of our lives. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Well, good morning, beloved of God. Good morning to everybody on the conference call who are in my ear. Good morning to all of you on the Facebook. Good morning, Viola and Teresa. Good morning, Reggie and Dolores. Good to see y'all, Nita and Sean. Viola, good to see you. Dr. Poole, good to see you, my friend. Good to hear you in my ear, Sister Laverne and Miss Crump and Sister Sandra and Dr. Muse. Glad to have you. We are in a quick devotional series on Nehemiah that is centered off of the theme of our 2022 church theme of building stronger. This Sunday, we will celebrate our 168th church anniversary, Regina, and I'm so excited and humbled that this leg of the journey is under my leadership. I'm grateful to God for it and grateful to his trust in me to do exactly that. So, and certainly grateful for the fine folk of Providence who have entrusted their pastor to continue to lead. So thank you to all of you. We've been walking to and through Nehemiah, and it's such an intrinsic and deep read and work. We won't get through all of it, but I'm going to hope to sum it up. So I'm going to need you to stick with me and work really fast with me as we began to look at some things. I'd like to point your attention to chapter 2, around verse 17. After inspecting the wall, Nehemiah comes back to report, and he says to them, "You see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace." That's verse 17 of chapter 2. Then over in chapter 4, right around verse 5, he begins to pray, "Hear us, O our God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their heads. Give them over as a plunder in a land of captivity. Do not cover up their guilt or blot out their sins from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders." So we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height, for the people worked with all their heart. And then I want you to turn over to chapter 6, verse number 15. So the wall was completed on the 25th of Elul in 52 days. When all our enemies heard about this, all the surrounding nations were afraid and lost their self-confidence because they realized that this work had been done with the help of our God. You should go ahead and underline that. With the help of our God. So we've introduced you to the reason, the rhyme, the rationale, and the completion behind everything that was centered in Nehemiah's heart to rebuild the wall. So we'll start there. Nehemiah is faced with opposition. The opposition talked so strong towards Nehemiah regarding the building of this wall that it could have discouraged anybody who did not have a burden and a purpose from God. Said, you're going to build this wall and it's going to be so weak that the foxes are going to be able to destroy it. Points to something very strong and very key that you must understand as you begin to build stronger, build your faith stronger, build your life stronger, build your career stronger, that nothing in life comes without opposition. Free is a mirage that exists only in our dreams. And what we love about Nehemiah and what makes him a great leader in this particular scene is he not only receives opposition, but he expects opposition. Let me be the first one to tell you, when you begin to make impact in communities and changes in churches and businesses and the lives of people, you are going to be faced with opposition. There are some people who want things the same way they were 30 years ago. This is why you need to be so involved in your political process in your wherever you are, because there are those who want to keep things the way they used to be, benefiting those only of a certain particular slant for power, making sure that access to health care and those different things are only to a different portion of the population. You got to understand that when you begin to do things that go against the grain, when power begins to get sifted out of the hands of those who have misused it and abused it, when vision shifts, when God begins to restore and rebuild the walls in your life, you are going to be faced with opposition. Watch this. Not everybody wants you to win. Some people want you to struggle so they can say to you, good for you, you're struggling like me. But how many of you know God doesn't want you to be in the struggle just because God births you through a struggle? And so he expects opposition is going to come. And I submit that great leaders not only look for and expect opposition, they need opposition, simply because opposition becomes the catalyst for greatness or the catalyst for failure. And what Nehemiah teaches us is the minute somebody pushes against what God told you to do, you can make a decision to either go forward based on what God said, or you can stay stagnant based on what they said. Nehemiah pushes it. He says, I know what's in my heart. I know what the Lord has said to me. So he does something as it hits the people, because the people had a sense of panic with them. And when opposition showed up through Tobias and Sanballat, those folk who didn't want the wall of Jerusalem built, some of the people were afraid. But Nehemiah, he does something that just blows my mind. He raises the level of expectation on the people. What he does is he doesn't put the threat in front of them. He puts the triumph in front of them. And he says, here's how we're going to do it. We're not going to stop building the wall. We're going to take our tool and our weapon up on the wall with us. And we'll work when we need to work, and we'll fight when we need to fight. But what we won't do is come down from doing what God has called us to do, to deal with bad lies, false accusations, and incorrect innuendo. I will not give verbiage to the things that you are voicing just for you to take me off of my task. Can I tell you, beloved, there are some folk, they're not designed to stop you. They're just designed to distract you. And in distracting you, not only do they take you away from what God has called you to do, they pull your focus away from your faith. And what you begin to think about is not the faith, you begin to think about the fear. I know I'm giving you a whole lot this morning, but I want you to be able to digest that. There's some folk in your life who aren't designed designed to stop you. Their only purpose is to distract you. And watch this, most of the time, it comes from some folk who are closest to you. Mm. 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 So what Nehemiah does, he says, I'm not coming down off the wall. I'm not leaving my purpose. I'm not leaving my station to argue with you about what God told me to do. He says to Sanballat and Tobias, you can keep it moving because we will not entertain what you are saying. You should understand that nobody wanted the walls of Jerusalem to be built. Nobody wanted the walls of Jerusalem to be finished. No one wanted Jerusalem to be restored. Not any of her opposing countries wanted her to be lifted and raised back up, because they remembered when the people were in the right place and the Spirit of the Lord was working on their behalf. They remembered. You remember reading it in Joshua, what Rahab, she said, when we heard about y'all, our hearts melted and our courage left us, because we heard about how your God did what he did to Sihon and Og and how he walked y'all through the Red Sea. People will hear about what God had done and get afraid because they see God working in your life. Don't you dare come down off the wall that you're on simply because you got to deal with haters and naysayers and agitators and quitters and prognosticators. You can't do it. Guess what you have to do? You have to stay on the wall. Somebody help me do this devotional on Facebook and type in the caption section, stay on the wall. Beloved, stay on the wall. Don't you come down off that wall. I don't care what the report is. I don't care who's calling you. I don't care what the opposition is. Don't you come down off of that wall. The text says that they built this wall. Here it is, in 52 days. They built it in 52 days. 52 days. It had lied in ruins for a significant amount of time, but they built it in 52 days. And here's what Nehemiah says. Nehemiah says there's nothing we can't do if we do it together. You better stay on the wall. He said, I'm going to stay in my section. You stay in your section, and everybody else will stay in their section, and we will get this thing completed. You can't tell me what the Lord can't do through a group of people who are committed to the vision and committed to the purpose. You can't tell me what the Lord won't do when we dedicate completely and solely all of ourselves for the purpose that he has created us for. You can't tell me what the Lord won't do through a group of people who are resilient, who are faithful, and who are committed, and who raise the level of their expectation and raise the level of our service. The psalmist declared it right. There is no one like the Lord who is able to do it. And I can testify to you that not only did Nehemiah show us a blueprint for living our lives, he showed us that God will always show up when we show up for God. Don't you dare come down off that wall, child of God. God is using you to be a protective agent for somebody who doesn't have any protection. I wish I had some online help to help me with this devotional. Stay on the wall. Nudge your neighbor and say, stay on the wall. 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 If you're going to build stronger, then you gotta push your way through opposition. You gotta raise the level of your expectation. But not only do you gotta raise your level of expectation, you gotta raise your level of production. You gotta stay tight. You gotta keep it together. You gotta keep it pushing. You cannot be distracted from purpose. There's this sense of allness that we see in the text. I'm gonna be done here in a second. I'm giving you an extra for Saturday. All you got to do is just wake up at 8 and meditate on what I talked about on today. You got to raise the level of your production. Here's what happens in the sense of allness. The temple had laid in ruins for a significant amount of time. It was a disgrace. They were embarrassed, and they had no protection. The God that used to protect them, they had created a rift between he and them. And so Nehemiah is faced with some challenges. The Jews who are building the wall are being taxed disproportionately. They told Nehemiah in chapter 5, right on verse 6, that they had some struggles financially. What we used to commit, we can't commit anymore. We know this is important, and Nehemiah, and he continued to push. Vision takes you places that only victory presides. Don't miss it. Vision takes you places where only victory resides. When you trust the vision, it'll bring you to the place of victory. That just go ahead and type that in. When you trust the vision, it'll bring you into the place of victory. But if you stay in the vision, it'll always bring you to the place of victimization. Trust the vision, because it'll bring you to the victory. Nehemiah gets to chapter 6, and he begins to rattle off. It took us 52 days, but we built this wall. And there were people who believed that we wouldn't build this wall. There were people who believed that we wouldn't be committed to building this wall. So Nehemiah does 3 things. He raises the level of expectation, he raises the level of production, and he doesn't falter in the face of purpose. And here's why he doesn't falter. He trusted the God of the process. He trusted the God of the process. Make sure you write that down. He trusted the God of the process. He trusted the God of the process. In other words, he trusted the process that God placed inside of him. He trusted it. He trusted the process that God placed in front of him. He understood what it was going to take. He understood that there was going to be some opposition. But in order for him to get to the completion, he had to trust the process. Watch this, child of God. You're not going to always agree with the process, but you got to always trust it. You're not going to always agree with the process, but you got to trust it. I'm going to use a story like my friend Pastor Brandon Prelude does, but it's a story off of a movie. Early in our teenage years, they came out with this movie called The Karate Kid. It was about a young Hispanic boy who was moved to a predominantly Caucasian area in high school. He was bullied. He was picked on. He had no friends. He had been moved away from the friends that he had. His mother's job required that she go over here. He got enrolled in school, and people didn't like him. There was some racial undertones centering around it, as well as some social ones. And so the boy, in his spare time, found a guy by the name of Mr. Miyagi, because he was being bullied. And Mr. Miyagi ended up becoming his karate teacher. And the scene opens up where young Daniel is washing cars. Mr. Miyagi has him washing the beautiful cars that he has. And every day he would come and he would wax on and he would wax off. He would wax on and he would wax off. He'd leave from school, go to Mr. Miyagi's house. He'd wax on, he'd wax off. After a while, he said, "I'm not getting karate lessons. What are we doing?" He got frustrated with the process that Mr. Miyagi was teaching him. He was teaching him a wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. Goes to Mr. Miyagi, frustrated. You know, he sees these movies and his friends, and they're doing all these high-flying kicks and blocks and chops and all these different things. And he doesn't believe that Mr. Miyagi is teaching him about karate. Until one day in his frustration, he angrily says to Mr. Miyagi, "What is this that you're teaching me?" And Miyagi says it in his nice, calm voice that he has. He says, "Daniel-san, wax on, wax off." So he throws a punch and he waxes on and he blocks it. Then he throws another punch and he waxes off and he blocks it. And he was teaching him the art of karate through the simpleness of washing a car. It was the process. I don't know, beloved, what your wax on is and your wax off is. But trust the process. Let me give you a quick warning. There is no democracy in discipleship. God doesn't need your permission to disciple you. When you decide for discipling, it is the discipler's rationale on how that discipling goes. There are some things that are just going to happen simply because God is teaching us to trust the process. In order for us to fulfill purpose, we got to trust the process. If we're going to build stronger in our faith, we're going to build our communities, our churches, we got to trust the process. Trust the process. And all of us who have been parents and our parents know we had to tell our kids things that were in the process. Dad, why can't I do this? Well, trust the process because I said so. You'll learn it by and by. You'll understand it by and by. Turn those lights off. Dad, why I got to turn the lights off? Well, just turn the lights off. When they become older, they say, Dad, now I understand I had to turn the lights off. Now that I got my own bills, I know why I got to turn the lights off. Trust the process. The process will always lead you to purposeful fulfillment. You just got to trust it. The process, here it is, will always lead to purposeful fulfillment. Just trust it. All right? Look, my time is up. Have a great day. Real quick, because of the weather, we have postponed our fish fry at Providence for next Saturday at 3 o'clock, not this Saturday. We just want to practice due diligence. So we still want y'all to come out and hang out. We're still going to celebrate our anniversary. Excuse me. We're still going to have a good time. And the men are frying fish. So let it be said, let it be told. That's all that needs to be said. The men are frying fish. So I don't know what you're doing on Saturday about 3 o'clock through 6 o'clock. But if you come at 3 o'clock, you can at least eat fish till 6 o'clock. But listen, just come hang out with us, man, as we celebrate. It's a whole vibe at Providence, and I'm so grateful to God for what He's doing in the life of our congregation. So you be blessed, and like the old saints used to say, you pray for me, and I will pray for you. God bless you, everybody. Have a great day. The Lord bless you real good, and I hope to see you on Sunday at our church anniversary. Wear your blue, light blue, dark blue, navy blue, royal blue, shades of blue, blue. Okay? Be blessed, everybody. We'll holler at you.